Elko Live today is our regular city update. Here we are on a Tuesday, and we're going to get an update on the most recent council meeting, which was on Tuesday, August 26th, and we're in between right now. And a perfect person to have in studio today is our Councilwoman, Marissa Lostra. And Marissa is all things Elko. You guys, you and your family have just really taken off with all the wonderful things you've been able to contribute to our community. And now here, you're still in your first year in the council, right? Yes. So.
Thank you for the compliment for my family. We really are invested in this community. We are, our children are third generation Elko High School graduates, and so we just had the youngest to enter Elko High School as freshmen. So it's going to be an interesting 4 years. I know how fast it all goes. But yes, and then we actually have one hopefully returning back to the community here at the end of this year. So, and hopefully he'll be jumping into the family business as well.
Fantastic, Marissa, and obviously just continuing on in that family legacy and all that the Lostra family for certain has been able to contribute. Things like the snowball. That must be really happy for you to sit on the city council and preside over that.
Oh my gosh, and they've got some big changes coming this year. I think that they've got a bunch of things with the lift that they've been working on and getting ready for this year. Hopefully we have lots of snow so that can be utilized. But yes, we're excited to see that get opened up again this year in the winter.
And Marissa is also a member of the City of Elko Arts and Council Advisory Board. And Marissa, you were just saying how pleased you are that we have a full complement of board members on that volunteer board.
We do. I do believe it's been a long time since we've had all of those seats filled, and we've got an amazing cohesive board. I think that we all have a common agenda that we want to accomplish this year, and we have lots of projects that we're working on. We're working the wall along the Elko County Fairgrounds just got completed. It was a big challenge for our artist over there to get that done before the fair started, and she did a great job. We're working on some projects with NV Energy to get some utility boxes, see if we can add some little pops of art throughout the community on a couple of boxes for that. We've got our sesquicentennial project come in. We'd like to have that done in July, and we're out for proposals right now, so those have been up for negotiation. I believe we're going to be selecting an artist at tomorrow's meeting. And we've got, like I said, just lots of projects. So stop by tomorrow's meeting at 4:30 and pop in and see what all we've got going on. But yes, we're meeting monthly, and we have lots of projects that we're working on with the Arts and Council.
Thanks, Marissa, for the update there. So monthly meeting of City of Elko Arts and Council, as she said, there's just the iron is hot. They've got artists they're considering for the Mayor's Arts Awards. Those submissions were due. That's a future consideration. 4:30 tomorrow at City Hall. And we'll all learn together, because I think there was a lot of interest in artists submitting for that. That's the United States, as you said, the sesquicentennial, 250 years. We had a few centennials in there, so yes. I need to practice that word again before we get upon it, actually. But that will be in celebration with the entire nation, and so each community is being asked to contribute a project to the 250th observation of our United States Constitution.
They are, and we have a couple of locations downtown that have already been identified that are prepped and ready to go. And like I said, I believe that we're going to be selecting an artist at tomorrow's meeting. We did have a lot of interest. I believe that there were 10 entries. So we had a lot to choose from, a lot of difficult decisions to make. And so, like I said, I think we're going to be making that announcement. So it'll be very exciting.
Very exciting. Thanks, Marissa. 4:30 at City Hall at 1751 College Avenue on Wednesday. And with that, let's shift into a discussion. When the council last met, they began with the RDA meeting, the Redevelopment Agency for Downtown Area, or the General Improvement District. And Marissa, I know that this is something that, again, your family is invested in, but you as a council person also helps to oversee. There's been a lot of growth, a lot of investment, and it really helps to preserve our history as well as kind of ignite the future.
Absolutely. And we have some grant programs for downtown businesses that they can take advantage of. We did take advantage of that downtown grant to help with some of the aesthetics on the outside of the building that we did on the corner of 6th and Silver. And it's an amazing program. I believe the Coffee Mug has also participated in that, the Star. There's some other local businesses. I believe that the most recent one just did some ADA improvements to help so that they can accommodate ADA patrons for their business. So there's lots of availability. And if you're just looking to improve your storefront, we have lots of different programs to help the community and improve their business districts.
Kathy Laughlin is the person to reach out to, our city planner, and she can point you to the applications. But as Marissa, Councilwoman Lostra, was just describing, there are grants that are 50-50 matches, and they can be for the exterior of the building or the interior. She described that infrastructure grant to help meet ADA requirements, bathrooms and ramps. That can be very expensive and can prevent someone from either expanding or even purchasing and developing a business, especially in those historic buildings that we love so much.
Absolutely. I believe the recipient that was just approved at the last RDA meeting is right there on 5th Street. And so obviously those are some buildings that have been around for a while and needed a little bit of help with some parking for ADA accessibility. And then there's also a couple offices in the Rancho Plaza that were needing some improvements to help as well with ADA accessibility. And so they received some funds as well.
That's great to hear. I know I was in, there's great potential in that Rancho Plaza, which is across from Chef Chang's. That used to be historically the coffee mug, and now has has been our Chinese restaurant. But that there's a Boyd's Mercantile in there, and they have a lot of little booths, and it's so bright and cheerful, and they've done a lot of work in there, Marissa, and I think that's a really good example of redevelopment.
It is, and that is a great little store. Oh my gosh, if you're looking for anything local vendors and just some fun little trinkets and gift baskets and anything that you can imagine, that's a fun little spot to go in. And they've got some other vendors in that little location as well, and they're trying to bring in more with those improvements that they're putting in.
Yep, that Rancho Plaza, that used to be a little motel rooms way back in the day.
Yes.
So now it's nice to see off for a lot of local businesses that could be their first stop in opening and maintaining their own business. So it's really neat to see. It's kind of I guess, what do they call that for artists? A maker's space. It's kind of a maker's space for small business, if you will. So.
Yes, absolutely.
So, speaking of, let's get an update on our downtown sidewalk project, how that's going. About $2.2 million redo in the corridor, not just the sidewalk curb gutter, but also a lot of infrastructure, Marissa.
It is. Again, this comes back to a little bit of our ADA accessibility. There were some sidewalks there along Railroad Street that were hazardous and steep and causing a lot of injuries for members of the public trying to go in and out of businesses. So they're getting that all cleaned up. Of course, with the age of the infrastructure and some of our Elko history with some of the things in the tunnels and whatnot, and different storage areas that were built underneath those sidewalks, they're finding some interesting things that they're having to get resolved and put in some extra improvements on that. But anytime you, like we were discussing, that you start peeling back those layers of any of that infrastructure, you're bound to find a few surprises, but we're overcoming those hurdles, and I think it's going to be a very successful project. They're hoping to have that wrapped up in a few weeks, and it's going great so far.
Going great so far, and folks seem to be really understanding, and they're patronizing those businesses because we want you to do that. Hopefully by the time the end of October rolls around, it'll be a memory, and we'll just be so happy with all the improvements. There'll be improved landscaping. The infrastructure includes lighting, so you can decorate for the holidays. It'll be really nice.
Yes, we're, like you said, putting up the lighting, and we're adding trees, making those sidewalks so that they're accessible for everyone to walk up and down.
That's in our downtown corridor. So more on that, as we do every week. We get updates on the downtown sidewalk project. It's been a big community project. And again, thanks to all the businesses. Most of them, if not all, are small business owners in our community. And so this is going to make a huge difference for them. But in the meantime, please patronize them so that they don't have a lapse in their business in the meantime. So.
Absolutely. And we would love to see everyone shop local. This is the first time, I believe, in Elko's history that we are anticipating a budget cut for the city of Elko. So we definitely need those tax dollars to stay within our community to be able to support all the systems that the city also helps support by shopping local. So we disperse those tax dollars to lots of places, and if anybody has any questions, they are more than welcome to reach out, and I can explain to them where those go and how they help our community. But if you would like to see improvements within this community, you got to shop and eat local. keep our dollars here.
Yeah, Marissa, thank you for reminding us of that. A home for the holidays truly means, spending the money wisely and treating family and guests, inviting them to come to our community, and especially to enhance those local businesses as we keep our local tax dollars circulating close to home. Thank you for that reminder, Marissa.
Yes.
Very important. Let's see. Oh, and I did have a note. Someone actually asked today, and I said, well, it's not been on the agenda, but there was discussion recently on the acquisition of the Union Pacific property, either the West Main or west on Old Highway 40, that area adjacent to the airport. And I said, I'll check with Marissa and see if there's been any news on that.
We have been in very serious negotiations, and I feel like it's been for years that we've been doing that, and I feel like we're finally at the home stretch of that. So hopefully, I would love to say before the end of the year we'll have an update for that. But yes, we have been in serious negotiations for that, so we would love to have that property acquired. And I do believe that the intention of that is to, obviously, the businesses that are located along that property, give them first right of refusal for the purchase, because the city is not in the business of holding real estate, but in order to purchase that, it must be a public utility that can acquire that type of property. They aren't allowed to do a private sale, so they can't just sell it to the businesses that are located on it. The city would need to acquire it, and then the city can turn around and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Business Owner, would you like to, purchase the property that you're located on?
They'll be anxious to do that, I think, in many cases, from what we're hearing, Marissa, because as you said, it's been decades since this project was initiated. The problem is when Union Pacific is in ownership, and this dates back to the construction of the railroad, the government, in order to incentivize this construction, they did this checkerboard deal where they gave UP a parcel adjacent to another. Yes, and so it's just been this. And so now acquiring the property, it will cost the city of Elko, I think the price was $8 million, if that's right.
That's where the negotiations started. And I don't know that is the final price. Obviously, as this goes on, appraisals have been completed and whatnot. And then again, which section and how much they're going to let us have. There's been lots of negotiations going on, but like I said, I'm hoping that we are at the tail end of this and can have it wrapped up before the end of the year. As we all know that the Union Pacific Railroad has their rental rates on the land leases that they have on these properties have just gone up astronomically. And in fact, it's causing some serious discord with some of the businesses, in which some of them are thinking that they may need to either relocate or close up shop because they cannot afford the land lease on top of their business expenses.
These are some legacy businesses on that old West Main Street property or Old Highway 40. We're not going to be, naming names. Certainly, we're here as a local business too in the community to help prop up these business owners. Gosh, Marissa, anything that we can do. I know there's a lot of work, as you said, behind the scenes in the interim until these property owners who lease the property can acquire it, because then they can actually have equity and they can reinvest in some of these legacy businesses and make more improvements.
Absolutely. And the better that we can make our businesses in our downtown and options for our local people to go, and those that are visiting, to bring in tourism and places for them to visit and spend money, we would love to welcome that. So we're doing everything we can to make this happen exponentially. So
that's great. Good to hear. And again, I asked the right question of the right person, Marissa. So thank you so much for that. And I'm glad that the person asked me to ask about that today too. So it's in the works, maybe closer than ever. We are excited to make any kind of announcement that we can. And the other point I wanted to make is that goes back into the general improvement district too, which is fantastic. So yes, can help. And that's not an additional tax. It's actually just the way that taxes are dispersed within a certain district. So Exactly. Yes, that will help some of our community projects. We've been super successful with the new sports complex that went in. We've actually been able to host a couple of softball tournaments that have come in. So obviously brings in tourism into the area and being able to utilize those facilities. I believe that we just got the Endow grant to proceed forward with our community pond straight across for the sports complex there. So that'll bring some additional recreational fun for local communities and those that are visiting. And we've got pickleball courts coming in. I believe there's 6 going in. We have had to postpone that just until the spring. We don't want to
have any challenges with the weather. We want those pickleball courts to be really nice and ready to go. So in the spring, early summer, those should be ready for all of those. That's definitely a growing sport in this community. So we'll be excited to have that as a recreational option as well. We just got the tennis courts resurfaced. So I know that there are quite a few people that are very excited about that. I think that project's been something that's been coming for a while too. So we're excited for those improvements.
Yes, it's been happening. It's been in the works, and the city has planned, and the investment was there, and that's all really good news, Marissa. And that urban fishery, as you said, you're right. Endow said, we're going out for design. So
yes, so we're very excited about that.
Yes, it will add to the recreation opportunities for area residents. And so on that list too, the Elko Inn. Anything to report? That property is up for taxes at 8th and Idaho. It's very derelict. It's very sad to see it in such disrepair, but we could be looking at a new future for that property.
We are. We're in the works on some things with the Elko Inn as well. We are trying to do everything within our legal rights to get it cleaned up. Obviously, it's a very large source of blight in the downtown area, and that's not what we want people who are visiting and our local residents to see. We have a couple of properties that we're working on and seeing what we can do to make those a better spot for our community.
So that's also in the works, and more to come on that in the weeks and months, and maybe even in the new year ahead. I can't believe we're already talking about the new year. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where has the time gone?
Where has it gone? But again, a lot to look forward to. Talking with our Elko City Councilwoman, Marissa Lostra, here on Elko Live today. We're kind of looking at some things we'll veer back onto the agenda. We were looking at some RDA, and that led us to all the exciting topics of other growth and investment in the community. And before I forget too, do you know if the city of Elko was impacted by the cyber incident that impacted the state on Sunday, August 24th?
I do not have any direct knowledge of the city being affected, but the state was drastically affected. It did affect people that were trying to make payments. I know that it affected state manufactured housing, so there was not any way to look anything up if you were looking for manufactured home titles or anything like that. Obviously, also with like septics and wells and whatnot, it affected the water departments. It affected basically every single department at the state, but I don't believe that it affected anything with the city directly.
Okay, that's good news. And
yes,
yeah,
thankfully.
Yes, more to come as the investigation continues. Keep trying. If you are frustrated, obviously they're making appointments now through DMV and places like that, but the governor's not yet identified any nefarious actors. He was here last week, and certainly he would not have made the trip, Marissa, if he didn't feel that he could, but he'd made several commitments to rural Nevada to come out this way.
Yes, he did. And it's great to have him here. It's wonderful when he visits, and to know that Elko is not just a forgotten place. And so it's wonderful that when we have those come up from the south or even from the west that like to visit Elko, because we all like to joke that it's a one-way direction, that everybody from Elko travels to either Reno or Las Vegas or these other areas, and it's very hard to get them to come up and visit us, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so far. And for us, it's kind of normal, so it's wonderful when they make the journey.
Yeah, so Governor Lombardo was here last week, and he did get in quite a few visits. So hopefully we will see that reflected in all kinds of things coming up in the future. I know we visited Great Basin College and at the temple too, the opening of the new LDS temple to public tours before that building, I think, is going to be dedicated in October. So I guess, Marissa, we will veer on to the agenda for the August 26th meeting. That was a week ago. And under personnel, there's still an ongoing issue, but I thought maybe you could tell us what you can, because this is a closed session of labor negotiations between the City of Elko and the Police Officers Protective Association.
They are continued negotiations, and so I don't know how much I really can say about that other than we're just still working at it, and we've had lots of staff changes with the Elko Police Department. Obviously, we have a new police chief who has been an amazing asset to the Elko community. I actually have friends in law enforcement from Las Vegas that worked with the new police chief and told us that we are extremely fortunate to have received him in our area. He was very vested in the community down in Henderson, and so we are excited to have him here, and he's doing an amazing job, and he's really bridging that gap of camaraderie amongst all the lower law enforcement agencies, with the Sheriff's Department, the Elko City Police Department, with the Nevada Highway Patrol. He's just been an amazing asset to us. And also, upon his arrival, it's allowed some of the other police officers that we do have. We've had a couple of promotions in the last month, so that's exciting as well.
Very nice. You're right.
Yeah.
With the retirement of former Chief Ty Troughton, that allowed Dr. Kyle Ward. He is an academic. He's a PhD, and he is police chief many years in experience in law enforcement, and wanted to come to Elko, which is also wonderful. And I did want to mention too, City Manager Jan Baum mentioned just of the negotiations with the police that it's important the public does know that this doesn't have anything to do with the working conditions or any of the changes made within the department. But what we can say is that the statewide impact of the PERS increases have impacted the officers and their families, and that's a sticking point in negotiations.
It is very impactful, and that has happened across the board. That was also reflected in some of the other things that we've done this year with staff and even with the fire department.
Yes. So a lot of people are feeling this. So again, anything that we can do to contribute to our local economy, please consider that, because as Marissa mentioned, this is the first time that we've had a downturn in our local budget. Our financial services director, Julie Davis, is keeping a close eye on this. And obviously we're trying to track every penny to make sure, because it seems as though our local economy is doing well. Isn't it confusing, Marissa?
It's very confusing, because if you look around, we do have some very strong and thriving businesses, and we're bringing new things in every day. And so it is very confusing. I do believe that it's a trend across the state that everyone is feeling. So we don't know if it's just economically that is what's going on with our state right now, where they're just buckling down, tightening their belts, and saying, we have some unknowns that are going on. And so, but we would just really like to encourage the local spending so that we can enhance and keep the programs that we currently have.
Marissa Lostra is our guest today. She is Elko City Councilwoman. We're getting an update in city news, looking at some of the agenda items. Oh, yes, the ongoing installation of water meters and the water pits, and that was on the agenda. And it's because the city is going to make this purchase so that they can have material stockpiled just in case, as you said, with prices fluctuating.
Absolutely. So far, the responses with the water meters going in has been pretty positive. There's been a few questions that have been asked of City Council. I do believe, especially on multifamily properties, those types of things, they are only receiving one water meter. That's what was budgeted. So if they have a multi-unit property on their location, they can reach out to the City of Elko and discuss the options on how to add an additional meter. And obviously, if they could do that when they receive those little blue tags on their door, it makes it a lot easier to be able to get those installed and do it prematurely versus afterwards, to save on the cost and whatnot. And some of the residents who already have received water meters, there's been a lot of questions and comments about costs and whatnot. We are in the highest part of the summer, so you're going to have your highest water bills right now if you're watering outside and filling up swimming pools and enjoying that last little bit of summer. But as we go into winter, I've spoken with quite a few residents who already have water meters, and they said, oh my gosh, just wait until you hit about November, December, even January, February. They said the water bills are so minimal and they're so appreciative, and they feel that the cost of the water, the metered water, is actually lower than the monthly water rates. And so they're very thankful, and some of them are looking forward to that. So they said those that are a little bit concerned at this moment, they said, please give it some time and let's see how that goes in the future as their water rates decrease as we go into the winter months.
Yes, that is definitely what a lot of people have reported seeing when they had new construction and those meters were required. Everybody else, we were on these flat rates. And so no matter how much or how little water you would use, as say compared to your neighbors, you were paying a flat rate of, the water bill itself, just over $100. That's water, sewer, the light fees, and the different things that are rolled into that on behalf of the city. But that's exciting news to hear that people are also reporting a lower water bill, especially when they're only paying for what they use.
Yes, absolutely. And it's my understanding that the sewage rates are going up a little bit, but of course that is our water reclamation. So it's that fee goes toward a lot of things as well. It helps with our stormwater prevention. It helps with the water reclamation facility and making and ensuring that we have clean drinking water. So we definitely understand that the residents are feeling a little bit of a pinch and seeing a little uptick in that, but we're hoping that with the decrease in the water rates, it will all wash out and still be at a plus for the residents here.
And there's one more thing too, that all this money goes back into this fund. This is the funds, the enterprise funds. That's what they are, and they go to pay for future improvements, because some cities find themselves in this terrible dilemma where they have millions and millions of dollars in infrastructure that they cannot afford to replace. But that's not the city's case, because we're able to pay for these things. We got a very low interest, if not no interest bond for the installation of the meters, but all the money goes back into the infrastructure.
Absolutely. We love reinvesting into this community, and we want this infrastructure to be able to be replaced and modernized, because if it goes down, that eventually is going to fall back on the taxpayer, and that's not our interest, and that is not what we want to do. We want to be able to improve our communities. We also have, I'm on the Elko County School District Capital Improvement Committee, and we just had our local meeting, which was great. So we got a little bit of an update on the Owyhee School. They're looking at revisiting the original plan, in which included a football field and some of those other amenities that they can include, because they had to pull it back with the state funding that was available and just put in the infrastructure in the actual school building. So I think we're looking at some additional options to be able to do that. And then, of course, looking at all of our current schools, high schools, elementary schools, there is a priority list, but the majority of them are looking at some HVAC and some heating issues with boilers and outdated air conditioning with the earlier start dates in school. Those are definitely things that need to be addressed. And the Wells roof on their gymnasium is also on that priority list. So we're knocking down each one of those improvements that need to be taken care of and doing that as well.
That is also really important news, to hear about the caretaking of those taxes that are realized and that they are directed toward the needs of the school district. And that's the county and the school district working hand in hand on that, so that there's oversight and that accountability. And not that there wasn't before, Marissa, it's just that I think that there was perception in the community that they wanted to see, a lot of voters wanted to see when they retired, the pay-as-you-go fund, more money directed toward more specific school projects.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So, and speaking of water, Exit 298, that's coming right along too.
That's so exciting. Yes, again, a project that has been in the works for years, that is coming along. It will be nice to see those larger businesses. I don't believe that most people realize that the gas station out there and those are on septics. And so to convert those from septics to actual city sewer, not only will that help because they will be switched over to city water and sewer rates, that will help our community, but it'll also help those businesses in which they're not having a septic tank that needs to be maintained during that, because that's not a fun business with a large area like that.
With a truck stop, for goodness sakes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that will afford so much growth in that area. That's all part of the plan too.
Yes, it's going to open up some of that land for some residential development as well. So we are very excited to see that go.
And more to come. And to help you make some of those plans, the city of Elko, the Elko City Council appointed a new planning commissioner, right?
Yes, so we did. Carlos Nunez has been appointed to the Elko Planning and Zoning Commission. So we're very excited and looking forward to his insight. He's a lifelong Elko resident, and so we can't wait to have him join the team and see what he has to offer.
So congratulations, Carlos. That's fantastic news. It is kind of a thankless job. It can be very hard. We've seen that recently, but it makes such a huge difference to have people who care deeply. Sometimes they're passionate about these issues. Planning almost invariably makes someone upset, someone else happy. It's never usually one or the other, right? They try to be straight down the middle.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It is a thankless job, and we are very appreciative for their volunteerism that they put in. They put in a lot of long hours and try to basically just enforce the city code and find ways to help the residents and help people around the community to develop their businesses, their homes, and what they can do to improve while still following that city code.
And then also moving on to toward the end of the agenda, there was a resolution of an ordinance. Oh, you were basically approving the Northeastern Nevada Regional Development Authority's their new interlocal cooperative agreements.
Yes, that's something that we definitely want to continue. We work closely with Sheldon Mudd. Jan and Sheldon, I think, have a great relationship and discussions about what things would best benefit the community and what things that the community is looking for to have brought into this area. I know Sheldon answers a lot of questions about that, about certain specific needs that the community is looking for, and it's not always just available land. There's other things that go into that are population-based, traffic count-based, some other things. But he does say, that the expanse on the residential units, that building more homes and bringing in more people will bring in additional businesses and the things that they're looking for. So if we could provide them housing and work with the city and those kinds of things, then we'll get those businesses that everybody is hoping to see come into the area.
All right. We just need to grow that population. And to do that, housing is key. And we're hearing that UNR Extension just issued a big study on rural housing. And so I know that that's a big component of allowing our neighbors or friends in Humboldt County, they're not quite neighbors, we've got Lander County there, but to grow as well. Marissa and I know that that's always at the top of the minds of people, whether you're trying to recruit someone new to work in a profession or work in the mining industry, they need housing.
Absolutely. They need housing and they need local amenities, which I feel like Elko has done an amazing job about diversifying their businesses here and making that attractive to people that are coming in from out of the area, that they can find the things that they need here locally. Not everyone wants to order something from online or travel out of the area to get what they need, but we have done a great job as a community to bring all those businesses in and expand. And so I think that every day that we get the new businesses in, it's wonderful. It's just more opportunity for everyone here locally.
So just shop locally, as we talked about, home for the holidays. It's just right around the corner. And then lastly, there was the Elko City Council did reverse the Planning Commission. That's kind of what we alluded to earlier. We're moving beyond this now, hopefully with folks, understanding that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is going to build a golf net. And I noticed that was a hard decision for you, Marissa.
It was an extremely difficult decision. Not only as City Council, we are there to support one another in regards to the Planning Commission's decision. I firmly believe that if the original presentation had been made to the Planning Commission that was received by the City Council, I believe we received more information and more statistics in regards to what was going on in that area. And I do believe that if the same presentation had been made to the Planning Commission, they would have made a different decision. And I could be completely wrong on that. So I hope I'm not speaking for them. But that was an extremely difficult decision as we all enjoy the views on that golf course. And so we do believe that the community and that the church will maintain that, and that it will not become something that is an eyesore, and that golf course will continue to be enjoyed. And people travel from all over to come and golf here in Elko County. And so we would love to encourage those visitors to continue to come and not have their views obstructed. And so I believe that the church is going to do everything that they can to make sure that that is well maintained and not changing the aesthetic of the golf course.
And it could go up pretty soon, right, Marissa?
Yes, I believe that the infrastructure is already in, and it's my understanding that they're getting through this grand opening with the tours and whatnot, and that it will be going up very shortly.
All right. So the public tours of the temple are through September. Or did I say? Yeah, it is September already.
Yes.
It's like it's September 13th. And then that will be dedicated in October. So as you mentioned, maybe that space there in between that they'll use. It has been approved to be a 127-foot net in height. It's a golf net. And so we'll just, we'll keep talking about it on our Tuesday show. And as you said, hopefully this time next year, we'll kind of forgotten that it was a struggle, and that it is aesthetically pleasing, and that the safety element is working, and that's probably the most important thing. So
that is the most important thing, and I think that was the decision of the council, and what we were trying to weigh into our decision is obviously our number one concern is public safety. And I believe that was the decision that was made. And we had hoped that when they were looking at that property to build the temple there, that part of the due diligence would have been considering that as the residents did, because multiple residents, they understand the risk of living in that neighborhood and what goes on. So
flying golf balls. That's what we're talking about.
Right?
Yes.
But I do believe that a year from now, the net will be up, and they're hoping to put in some landscaping to hide the aesthetic of that. It's not going to obviously completely cover it, but again, to keep the aesthetic of the golf course with that natural look and all the greenery, and encourage people to utilize that space.
Yeah, it was stunning just to be on the property and look over that golf course from that vantage. It's very beautiful. So
it is.
Well, I guess we'll close out until we get to meet again. Council will meet next in regular session. Is it next Tuesday already?
Next Tuesday.
All right, next Tuesday. More work. But I did want to remind listeners we've had a couple of fires at the humanitarian camp two fires in about 10 days. And that's a tough situation, Marissa, right? Because we used to have groups that would volunteer and help clean things up, but it's pretty bad out there right now.
It is. It's very bad. And again, we're trying to utilize some of our local law enforcement along with some volunteers to help maintain that area and explain to those that are currently occupying that space that this is a mutual agreement and you're allowed to use this space. However, you must maintain it on the opposite side. This is not for destruction. There's no fires. There is a no burn ordinance. And so if you want to be able to continue to have this cooperative agreement, you guys need to participate and hold up your end as well.
Yeah, that's the Hot Springs Road Humanitarian Camp is what it's called, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it. It might pop up on an agenda. And the fire department has just done an amazing job jumping on those big fires. So there was a lot of trash, a lot of brush and debris. But fortunately, nobody was hurt. That's the most important thing.
That is the most important thing.
Marissa, thank you for being on the program today.
Lori.
We went a little long today. We weren't sure what we would have to talk about. We had plenty. So thank you.
Lots of things going on in the city.
Yes. Thanks for bringing all of it to the radio show today. Marissa Lostra is our Elko City Councilwoman and our guest here on Elko Live today.